The tight end position sucks, which is going to lead some of you down this rabbit hole of trying to find the next great tight end in fantasy football. And given how good the rookies are coming out in this year's draft, a lot of you are going to be reaching on them. But I'm going to tell you right now, that could be a huge mistake. Headliner Nation, the comment section is already starting to worry me, because as we're talking about different sleepers, guys to target at different positions in your drafts, rookie tight ends continue to be the names that I see come up more than anybody else. But here's another reminder, Headliner Nation, rookie tight ends 95 to 99% of the time are going to disappoint you greatly. So who are some of the rookie tight ends that you may be taking a shot at this season? The 2023 draft class actually had the most amount of tight ends drafted in the first 2 rounds since the 2013 draft, 10 years ago. So Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, Michael Mayer, these are kind of the top rookie tight ends that people seem to be gravitating towards the most. And then you got a guy like Luke Musgrave and Luke Schoonmaker, who are kind of there and being talked about, but still guys that maybe a little bit later in your draft, people are taking shots on. And if you're looking to hang up any autographed jerseys like I have behind me of maybe some of these guys that just came out in the draft, I highly encourage you to check out our partners over at Pristine Auction. And if you head over to pristineauction.com right now and create a free account using code word headliners, they're going to give you a $10 gift certificate off of your very first purchase. All of our giveaways that we do throughout the season are sponsored by Pristine Auction. So if you want a chance to win some really cool stuff this year, make sure you go sign up for a free account so they know the headliners are sending you their way. But realistically, what are the chances that one of these tight ends not only become a fantasy relevant player, but a starter like a lot of you are hoping for? Well, let's take a little trip down memory lane and let's look at the last few years of draft classes and where they finished as rookies in fantasy football. And for these purposes, I wanted to expand it. So I'm going to be looking at any rookie tight end that finished as a top 30 option at the position. While a couple of these guys may be breakout candidates for 2023, in 2022, that rookie class only saw 4 players within the top 30 at the tight end position. And my boy Chigioko led the way at tight end 24. Now, these guys, every once in a while, they had a decent week that kind of captivated you and pulled you in, but they never ended up doing anything consistently. Greg Dulcich was probably the biggest issue there. He came back from injury, played well his first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden disappeared in that offense. What about 2021? Well, we already know that Kyle Pitts at the tight end position was the tight end 7 that season, but Pat Freiermuth, also a rookie, made his way up to tight end 13. There's going to be a little bit of an asterisk next to Kyle Pitts because he's not a traditional tight end. This is a guy that very rarely puts his hand in the ground and has to block. Normally he's playing out wide in the slot, and if he does line up on the line and he does put his hand in the ground, he's not blocking. He is running some sort of a route. So while I understand where Kyle Pitts was kind of an anomaly a couple of years ago, he also wasn't a traditional tight end. A guy like Pat Freiermuth is a much better gauge because he does play a position where, again, tight ends have to learn blocking schemes, they have to learn routes, they have so many different things that they have to do. It's part of the reason why it's so tough for them to acclimate to the NFL. The 2020 class brought us absolutely nothing. They didn't do jack crap for you. No rookie tight end in 2020 finished inside the top 30. If you remember 2019, 2 tight ends from the same school were the biggest guys in the draft, and TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant. Well, TJ Hawkinson, he was up and down all year, dealt a little bit of an injury, didn't produce like anybody had hoped. He finished outside the top 30. And Noah Fant tight end 16. So even he was a guy that you barely were looking to start on any given week. And Dawson Knox, who has made his way up to being a fantasy viable player as of last year, was only tight end 30 in his rookie season, and this year could take a huge hit. Now, the 2018 and 2017 classes were pretty loaded at the tight end position. Starting with 2018, Mark Andrews was actually drafted after Hayden Hurst, both by the Baltimore Ravens. But Hayden Hurst dealt with injuries, and Mark Andrews, even though he was kind of the guy at the position, still only finishes the tight end 17. Dallas Goedert, who is a huge option at the position now, only finished at tight end 20 because he still had Zach Ertz there as well. And Ian Thomas, who has never really been a thing at all in fantasy, finishes the tight end 25 his rookie season. Now, the first true tight end, like a guy that lines up as a tight end every time, Evan ENGRAM had a huge season his rookie year as the tight end 5. But keep in mind, if you remember that year, almost everybody on the Giants offense dealt with injuries. He was the only guy that was out there to take targets. Part of the reason why he had such a huge year. But then some of the names after him, O.J. Howard, George Kittle, David Njoku. Kittle's a top 3 tight end now. David Njoku, after years of disappointment, started to show some flashes again last year, and he signed to a pretty decent deal in Cleveland. I expect him to be utilized again. But even those guys, their rookie years, even though they were considered monster pass catchers and athletic freaks coming out of the draft, they didn't do anything to really help in their rookie year. I mean, take a second and scroll back through this video and just realize that some of the names that you see on here that are top fantasy options now, they didn't do anything their rookie year. They didn't. Tight ends almost always take a year to develop, and sometimes a couple of years as well, before they start making an impact at the next level. So when you look at this year's draft class, a lot of them still have question marks with them. Dalton Kincaid is basically going to be utilized the same way Kyle Pitts was. So he may have the best opportunity available to all of them for potential volume. But Kyle Pitts didn't have anybody catching passes around him a couple of years ago. Dalton Kincaid is going to have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox is still there. This is an offense that's going to throw it a lot, but is he going to get enough with those other guys around him to actually become a viable weapon every week? Sam Laporta in Detroit, the same thing, right? You've got guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams will be back at some point. They drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12 overall. He's going to be utilized. And they have 3 other tight ends on the roster that are probably going to run some 2 tight end sets with him as well. And they brought in the deep ball threat back to Detroit, Marvin Jones. Michael Mayer looks to replace Darren Waller, but is he going to replace the volume? Michael Mayer slipped on a lot of draft boards, including mine, because he just did not test as well as we would have hoped at the combine and his pro days. But he's got a lot of guys around him as well. They brought in Jacoby Myers from New England. You still have Devontae Adams that's going to acquire at least 150 targets. Hunter Renfrow is still going to be there. They're going to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. And you've got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback now. This is not the same offense that we saw Darren Waller in over the last few years. Luke Musgrave has a first-time starter in Jordan Love, who, yes, he has played in some games, but he's never been the guy before. And you still have Christian Watson there, and they did draft another tight end as well. I'm not 100% sure that he's just going to step in and be a big-time playmaker. And by the way, Aaron Jones is probably going to see a lot of targets this year. And Luke Schoonmaker, again, they have guys already on the roster. You've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got Michael Gallup, they brought in Brandon Cooks. There's so much going on there. Tony Pollard, if he's healthy, he makes an impact in the passing game. So all of the top tight end options you're looking at this year, none of them are guys that you can just draft and expect to start for you every week. So instead of just leaving you with a video that says, hey, don't draft rookie tight ends, I'm going to leave you with a video that says, hey, instead of reaching for a rookie tight end, why don't you look for a little bit more value on some of these guys on the screen? Because all the veterans listed on the screen can either provide maybe a little bit more realistic expectations or are looking for a more viable breakout. Heck, if you've got me listing a guy like Taysom Hill, then you already know that I've got an issue with rookie tight ends because I don't recommend him to anybody. But a guy like Taysom Hill is going to be the same exact dart throw that a lot of these rookie tight ends will end up being. Now, will one of these rookie tight ends hit? Very possibly, but what are the chances, again, that they become a viable option for you every single week? Unfortunately, I think some of you are out there trying to draft Dalton Kincaid to give you Travis Kelce numbers instead of drafting him to give you Kyle Pitts numbers where, yeah, he might give you some yards and he might be decent, but from a fantasy perspective, he's going to be a headache every single week given the situation around him. So before you run off and start drafting rookie tight ends, do some research on the guys that I've listed for you, and I'm not going to give you a whole lot of information right now because I've got some deep diving videos that's going to list some of these guys as my must-have players to draft at the tight end positions this season. Just a little sneak peek there for you, Headliner Nation. But before you get out of here, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. But let me know in the comments, are you really going to be drafting a rookie tight end as your tight end one this year? Or are you just going to grab them to throw on the bench and hopefully, fingers crossed, they work out? And if you're new here and you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. Stick around for the rest of the offseason and the 2023 season because this is about to be our biggest year yet. Yo, Headliner Nation, peace out, stay safe and healthy, and I'll catch y'all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.